Yes, I started in the mid-1980s, and I think to date I have written about 8 or 9 pantomimes. First pantomime I ever saw was Dick Whittington, I believe at Wimbledon, and King Rat made a particularly big impression on me.
And how do you approach a pantomime production?
Well, pantomime is very popular in the UK. I'm not sure how many pantomimes there are every year, but there must be thousands go on around Christmas time of every year. And I think they broadly fit into 2 types. First of all, there's village pantomime, which is really done for fun. Everybody having a big lark around on the stage, not particularly well rehearsed or presented. But that's not what it's about. It's a community event and a great laugh for everybody involved. And then there's what I call celebrity pantomime, which is really there for commercial reasons only, usually employing 1 or 2 well-known personalities who can't necessarily act very well, but are there to attract people, and everything else is pared down to a minimum. What we do in Dartmouth and Brixham is something very different than that. We rehearse our pantomimes for at least 80 hours, which is the same as you would a rehearsal time for most major musicals in the West End. We pay particular attention to all the details and all of the technical aspects. I first appeared on stage in 1963, which is actually almost 50 years ago, and it was a production of Gilbert and Sullivan's Iolanthe, and I was on the back row of the chorus, but I do remember that it was directed by the wife of Harold Abrahams, Chariots of Fire fame, and his wife had actually spent quite a long time in the D'Oyly Carte Opera Company, and it was a great introduction to. In the early 90s, I was involved in the Devon Shakespeare project, which was performed usually in Torbay somewhere, and I was in one particular play, Shakespeare production, which was directed by Jonathan Hales, who is a playwright and screenwriter. And in fact, he was actually involved with George Lucas with the Star Wars trilogy. What was special about his direction was the attention to detail, the intensity at which he approached things. And this really had a great influence on me and the way I felt production should be directed. One way to achieve special effects, so for instance, if you need to have a flying carpet, very difficult to arrange, particularly in small theatre space, but you can do things like that nowadays on film with the modern software that's around. So I've become interested in filming, and I think this is the way I'll be going in the future, and maybe producing a few short films.
Coming back to Jack and the Beanstalk, can you tell me something about the cast?
Yes, the character of Jack and the Beanstalk is played by a very talented young lady called Gus Clayton, who has a really fantastic voice singing voice for this style of production, and she's really taken on board this role. And she's working with a young lady called Ali, who's very, very bubbly and great to look at. They're making a really good principal boy and principal girl couple. We've also got Matthew Thornhill, who's playing our Dame. Matthew, in his other life, is a Brixham Coast Guard, and treading the boards as a Dame for the very first time, although he has been on stage elsewhere. Then we have Kate Ruddle, who was principal boy 2 years ago. She was Prince Charming in Cinderella, and she was also appeared in Dancing at Lunacy, which we did last year. And for her, this is a great turnaround because she is playing the part of Simple Simon, which is a comedy part. So she's moved into comedy. We've got somebody who's always played comedy, which is Graham Mewis, and he appeared as the Ugly Sisters and as Wishy Washy last year, and he is now taking on the role of a villain. My theory is that if you can play comedy, you can play anything. So we're looking forward to Graham's appearance as Flesh Creep.
It sounds as though the audience at Brixham and Dartmouth are not going to be disappointed. Bill, thank you very much for your time today.